Hello everyone, my name is Hisham. I'm the owner of Clemson Aeronautics, where we make the riveting and dimpling systems. Today is the third video for the elevators. Before I continue, I'd like to make just a small comment. I actually watched myself on the last video with this part here for the trim tab, and I did notice that these radiuses did not match with each other. I went ahead and used the buffer to round it up and make it really nice and round. And this because of experience I had that I learned from other people with the vertical stabilizer. The rear spar of the vertical stabilizer and the parts that's on it, and I had rounded the corners on the bottom of it, and then when I put the doubler on there, it did not round really good. So after somebody mentioned something about it, I went ahead and used the buffer to match them up and make them look really nice. Now I have done a little bit on the elevators, and I'm at a stage right now where I actually have, at this point, I'm supposed to take it apart, and that's what is called for on page 9-9. Says disassemble both elevators. Means you disassemble everything, and you're supposed to mark it and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna go back and tell you guys what I done and how I done it, so everybody can benefit from that and have heads up on a few things that you should keep in mind before you start the next step. The next step is final drilling some holes on E921. This piece right here, it's on page 0908. What you have to watch for, I actually used the long drill on this one because it is very odd. There is 4 holes in it, and there is a lot of clecos in place that get in the way and stuff like that, so I used the long drill, and it seems to be a little bit easier for me. I have to take you with me to show you where it fits. You can see the elevator right here, and this is where it goes. And this is obviously the left elevator where the trim tab is, and this is the right elevator, and this is where it fits right here. Why is it a big deal for me to talk about this thing? One thing you watch for, this piece here, when you install it and you match drill it, when you come to put it back, you might put it back the other way around. You need to mark it, because this calls for match drilling. Then you take it out and you deburr all the holes and put it back in. So on the first one, I forgot to mark it. So I was trying to put it back in, and I'm thinking, okay, did it fit this way or that way? Well, I put it in a way where it matched. I'm not sure. So the next one, I made sure to mark it before I took it out of there. So when you're working on this piece, the E921, mark it before you put it in there, that it is first it's on the left elevator, then the orientation about where it's sitting. Like you can draw an arrow up this way, so it can make an L, then arrow up, so you know it will go in the left elevator. and the arrow is up, so it will go only one way. Same thing on the other side, so you don't mess it up. This is another one, just to make it easy for you. You don't have to look too far. The next step on the on this page, 0908 right here, it talks about the tip rib assembly. Tip rib assembly is this whole thing that you built at the beginning. The shear clip is that piece right here, and it is cliched into the rear spar. So you have that in place, and what it is asking you to put it in place with the front spar and the shear clip. And the same thing for the right elevator. Also, you're gonna assemble a whole assembly and click it to the shear clip and the front spar. And basically what you're doing is you're match drilling it with the shear clip. And before I forget, a third shear clip will go in here. That's the third one. Fourth one, I still don't know where it goes or it's gonna even be used. So what it's basically telling us is put that tip rib assembly, click it to the front spar and to the shear clip, and then final drill number 30, holes common to all of them, except the one on the rudder on the elevator here right next to the trim tab. That have a different story. It will be later on. Step 4 on that page is telling you to clico the skins in place. Another thing that I just looked for very hard, this part right here, does it go under the skin or over the skin? Everything I found tells me it will go under the skin, from the top and from the bottom. So we installed the top skins after that, and installed the trailing edge. Now the trailing edge is not the rudder, the elevator. The wider, thicker part is aft and the thinner part is forward. Why? I don't know, but that is the case. So what happened, this used to be one piece, and if you can imagine, the skin is on top of here, and it was this long, and I clicked it in place, and done the same thing with the right elevator. Then it's asking us to mark it with a Sharpie so we can cut it off. It's that simple. When I cut off the piece on the left elevator, it's only this long. The right side, which is right next to the trim tab, it came out looking like this. You just try and do your best to have it nice and straight and tucked in there. You don't want it tucked, to be exactly level with the skin. The other side is another story. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I hope you do. You have to do a little bit of doing on that. And let me read to you what this page says specifically. It says, use a belt sander to reduce the cross section of the outboard end of the E01423-L and -R right trailing edges to match the trailing edge thickness of the E912 elevator tip fairing. See figure 3. Now, tip fairing, or the tip fairing, is not included in the figure 3, but they want you to make it look like this. So what you're basically doing and I'm sure you guys have the print at home. You're taking this and you're cutting like this on a belt sander, and you go on the other side and you cut it like this, so you have it nice and thin over at the edge of this. I don't know about you or other folks that have done this before. I found it a little bit, well, maybe not a little bit, a lot difficult to control the belt sander and take some of this material off. So, and I did this all the way and wound up rounding the edge here was a little bit too thin. There's nothing I can do about that. But instead, after I finished, I had a nice flat file, and I put it on the table and on the corner of the table, and then kind of used my file with an angle. I went like this to level it off and give us a nice neat edge. What they are basically telling us is they wanted to reduce this edge so it would match the fairing that's at the end of the elevator. Well, how do you know how big the fairing is? And excuse me one second. When you install the fairing at the end of the left elevator and at the end of the right elevator, this portion here goes inside that part that we call the tip rib assembly. This portion of it will hit right here. So they basically tell you later on down the road in the book that you have to cut this enough to go inside. So I marked like this and I cut like that. I cut it that square, and I'll show it in just a second. So in order to know how thick it's going to be, because this will have skin on top of it and underneath it also. So after I did this and I put it in place and I clecoed it, I put this in there, and of course it would not go in, so I had to cut it. And let me show you what I cut. Is right here. This is what it looks like after I cut it. Then, if you can imagine, here is that left elevator. When I put that in there, this portion was too thick. So I had to sand it down a little bit, and I'm going to sand it down with a file a little bit to shrink here. But the whole point of reducing the thickness of this is so when this with the skin, I have to match this here. So this is the whole point from step number 6, reducing this thickness right here, so when you put it on the elevator and with the skin and everything, it will be the thickness of this here. So you're gonna have to kind of wing it. Just you're gonna have to do the best you can. I think it's easy to come up with a good result on that. You just have to work on it a little bit. As we said, the previous step called for installing or clecoing the top skin on there. So this is closed. So again, I have to take you with me. The skin, the top skin, have to go in between the bottom skin and that shear clip here. And it's also asking us to take one of those, which is that foam rib, and put it somewhere close to the edge right here. So you kind of have to open up the skins and install this. Then you close it up and you have to hold them together, and you're gonna do match drilling here, here, and here. So as you match drill it, you put clecos in there. And as you can tell on this, I managed to drill these pretty nice. But and the space is kind of tight, so I did use my right angle drill with a very long drill bit, so I would get a little closer to the holes. And the drill will bend a little bit, so if you are close then on that last hole inside, you can pull a little bit and you can manage to rotate the drill very slow and drill it. I think it will be okay. So now everything is clecoed together. So we're moving on to page 9-9. It says match drill number 30, the cleco, and then our match drill, then cleco the holes. That's the holes here that we talked about. So you match drill one, you click it, and you gotta make sure you hold it together really nice and flat, or with the same shape angle like your foam. Once you do that and you click with that, and here it says hold or clamp the skin into contact with the trailing edge rib taped inside. So you want it to kind of be holding on the rib. Then after that, we need to match drill the elevator hole. I'm sure you guys can see that. Let me get this out of the way. What it's basically telling us is to remove enough clecos from here and here to put the elevator horn in place and cleco them. And you first cleco them with the smaller cleco, the silver one, for the 3/32 holes. Then I really used the shorter drill, but I had it stuck out enough. I used, but for this one, I clecoed every hole, and then I would remove one cleco and match drill it, then install the bigger 1/8 cleco in there. Then I move to the next one. So they're all clecoed at all times, except for the hole that I'm doing the match drilling for. And it is really simple and easy. It's not a big deal. Make sure you install it the right way. And they're marked left and right. Done the same thing for the right elevator. So this is it for that. This is it. That's why you're not doing any more mesh drilling. So here it says mark all parts so they can be reassembled in the same position. You need to come up with a system to mark the parts as you take them off, and you're going to start working on them now. The ribs inside here, there was no match drilling for that, so I guess marking them doesn't make any sense because they can go any place. So it says disassemble both elevators, deburr all holes and any unfinished edges. So all the holes now, we're gonna be dimpling and riveting and all that stuff. So you need to disassemble both elevators, deburr them, know how the parts, how you put them back together, and some, I will give you an example of what I'm trying to say here. It says dimple all of the number 40 holes on both E913 counterbalance skin except as shown in figure 3. That's easy. Break the trailing edge of the E913 counterbalance skin and the all four skin slightly towards the interior of the elevator. Fine. Now the important note says a normal dimple die will overlap the trailing edge, blah blah blah. Let me tell you what he's trying to say. What they are trying to say, this is the trailing edge of the elevator. If you use a standard dimple die, the edge of it will be overlapping this bend right here, so it will actually straighten out the bend. You don't want that. So what he was telling you is grind this or get a cheap dimple die and grind some of it or something like that. Luckily enough, I had bought that from Cleveland Aircraft Tools, and you can see them right next to each other. That shape here is made so it will clear that. So this is what I'm going to use, and I bought it for the only reason to dimple the trailing edge of the elevator. So far it have no other use except that. So if you don't have one of those, you're gonna need it, or you're gonna get one of those, cut the edge on it. But remember, if this rotates and the thicker part gets into where you're dimpling, you're gonna bend your skin. It's only 16 thousandths. I only have to just barely touch it. It will ruin it pretty much. So long story short, buy one of those. You're gonna have to have one of those before you continue your project on the elevators. With this, we're gonna end this video at this point, and I'm gonna do a little bit more work off camera, and I will let you know what happened in the next video. Guys, for those of you that was waiting for a sale, there is a sale coming up soon on our machine because we're all caught up. And our orders now is almost nothing, and we need to have some income coming in. So we're gonna have another sale coming up very soon. So all of you that's planning on buying our equipment, please watch for it, and I'll let you know on the next video. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.